Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle. During this hour, we're bringing you highlights from some of our shows focused on youth, community, and lifestyle. Please be sure to give us a follow on all of our social platforms. First up on How to Steam Your Dreams, check out the overview of the past Ocean Bowl Games tournaments from 2021 to 2025. On Read Science, we hear from author Dan Egan about the current state of climate issues and how our world is shifting out of balance. Next on the Spotlight DMV, Prince George's County Councilmember at Large Walla Blegay shares how she's continuing to be of service to the county on this part 2. On VIP in the DMV, Sheriff John D.B. Carr redefines what it means to serve and protect in the county. Finally, on the Hair Kitchen, we take a look at luminosity and the beautiful home light shows from the holiday season. Thank you for tuning into this week's programming of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle, and have a safe and happy New Year.
Real powerful and excited because I was just playing against my man Ryan right here. Bruh, it was tied. It was 4-4, and it was game-winning point. My heart started beating fast and everything. But luckily, they had this little power thing where the opponent stopped. The opponent froze, and then I was able to get a shot, and then I won. I was so happy. I'm so happy. I crabbed them. Let's go!
Y'all ready? 3, 2, 1, let's go!
I just have to keep pushing through it to win. Come on, come on, come on.
Throughout these 2 days, they're going to engage in games covering science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Got 250 players, 7 schools, but there can only be one champ. So who's it going to be? Stay tuned and find out.
We don't think we're going to win. We know we're going to win.
Drop it! Thunder! Drop it! Thunder! Drop it! Thunder!
They are cocky. They're cocky.
No.
They're not really in this Ocean Bowl because Harlem Park Rec Center is going to win.
We are definitely going to win.
Take the tablets that we give you, scan QR code that you think's the answer to the riddle.
This is the fastest anybody did it today.
Come on.
Woo! Come on, hurry up.
When we use these tiles, we come up with something new.
Mackenzie McCheater.
Gotta be so careful. All right, don't slam down the tablet. Other people gotta play.
I'm not big. When I say aqua, you say giant. Aqua, giant. Today we're gonna win for our team.
This is gonna be number 1, so bye-bye.
XPG. XPG's gonna turn up.
We all know why we're here. This guy.
3 times.
So who's going home with this?
Hi, I'm your shoutcaster, Cherie L. Smith, and I am here for the 2025 Ocean Bowl games sponsored by AstraZeneca. I know we just finished up with Baltimore, and that was a lot of action. It was a lot of tears. It was a lot of cheers. It was awesome, but we're not done yet because we are here at the first time ever at the beautiful, the spacious, the futuristic University at Shady Groves for more STEAM-based action. So yeah, there are going to be some nail biters, there are going to be some mind rattlers, there's going to be some teeth clatters, and we are going to find out if our team from Baltimore, the champs, Team XPG, can do it again and take the whole enchilada. But will somebody else come out of the woodwork and knock them off the throne? I don't know. You're going to have to stay tuned and find out.
Oh, we're live. Hello, everybody. This is Joanne Manister, a science goddess from Twitter. And we are here again, once again, Read Science with my co-host, Jeff Schomeyer, and with our guest, Dan Egan, who is the author of two books I have loved. I sort of became obsessed with Dan Egan's writing after reading The Death and Life of the Great Lakes. I am a Midwesterner, not quite on the Great Lakes, but been there many times. And his newest book is The Devil's Element, Phosphorus and the World Out of Balance. And wow, it's very reflective. Anyway, Dan, great to have you here.
Great to be here.
So let me go ahead and read your bio here. And so Dan Egan is the Brico Fund journalist in residence at the Center for Water Policy in the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee School of Freshwater Sciences. Dan is an environmental journalist and author of The Death and Life of the Great Lakes, and he was a reporter with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, covering the Great Lakes from 2002 until 2021. He has twice been a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize and has won many awards, so I'm not going to read them all. And Dan Egan is a graduate of the University of Michigan and Columbia School of Journalism. And I won't read the rest, but the rest does talk about your time in the west side of the United States, doing some environmental reporting out there. So welcome.
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about being out west?
You know what? Why not? Let's
Okay,
go ahead. I'm very curious because I was like, oh, were you originally a biologist?
No, I was a history major and not a real focused one. And so it was kind of the path of least resistance at the time. And I had a vague interest in journalism, and an uncle of mine suggested that I get a job at a small newspaper somewhere rather than trying to go to journalism school. He said, you'll figure out if you like it and can do it real quickly, and you won't have to pay tuition. So I ended up out in Ketchum, Idaho, which is also Sun Valley. So it was a really, kind of nice place to get an entry-level job. I didn't know at the time, though, that I was going to be thrown into all these hot button environmental issues because of the location and the time that I was there. There was grizzly bear recoveries, wolf reintroduction, and then the Snake River sockeye salmon saga, which continues to this day.
Yeah.
I worked there for 2 years, and then I went to Idaho Falls on the eastern part of the state, which is not far at all from Yellowstone. And I did have a brief detour into Yellowstone before my first newspaper job. I worked there for a little bit with the park historian. So then I covered more and more environmental issues, and then I went to Salt Lake City, and finally, after about a decade being out there, made my way back to Milwaukee. Not as an environment reporter, as a feature writer, but when I, arrived back in Milwaukee, in my home state, and saw Lake Michigan. I just saw it with a whole new set of eyes because I'd basically been in a desert for a decade. So that launched me on the beat that occupied my life for 20 years.
Oh.
Do you feel like an environmental reporter now?
No, that's a good question. I feel like a reporter.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not working at a newspaper, daily newspaper anymore, I always felt that. And I kind of felt a little bit like a fraud in that people assumed that I had, an environmental history, education history, where I was a big outdoorsman. And I mean, I don't fish. I love the water. I grew up on it, and I boat and swim, and just mostly, it's such a beast of a lake. I'm looking over here because I can see it out my window.
Nice.
I mostly just soak it in, but I've long said that, if it was county government or if I was covering the Green Bay Packers, I would have done it the same way and probably would have gone down the same rabbit hole with whatever topic I was covering.
Okay.
But I was lucky enough to do this for 20 years, which was really, not common anymore.
I thought of my first big topic, I think. One is to say that I was surprised when I started reading the book. I was very drawn in. I think it's a combination of the good journalistic reporting, which was very convincing without being dull. But also I liked the way you worked from the discovery of phosphorus to things that are happening now. And that storyline kept being renewing interest until we got sort of to what seemed like you were going after. And I really enjoyed it. Therefore, I'm not going to start there. I want to plop down in the middle of things. Okay. Because I was reading and finally got to the point where I am old enough, believe it or not, that I can remember when the Cuyahoga River in Ohio caught on fire. Mm-hmm. And I can remember seeing advertisements on TV about exciting, new, wonderful laundry detergents, now phosphorus-free. Yeah. And I could see that suddenly being phosphorus-free was something they thought was a really big marketing deal. And I had no idea until last week when I finished your book why it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, what does the Cuyahoga River have to do with being phosphorus-free tide? And what's that got to do with what we're talking about? And then I thought perhaps we could work our way through the other things from this intro perspective.
Yeah, that string, that plot line, if that's what it is, that was a challenge to kind of string that together, because I really approached this from a water perspective, from what phosphorus was doing to waters. But I needed to back up and, orient the reader at the beginning, I thought. But here we are. I'll jump into the middle and talk about phosphorus.
But that did mean including a lot of really interesting reporting and science and history along the way. And I think that's all part of the story. It made it all very interesting.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I saw it as just really linking together. I don't know how many chapters there are. 9, I think. Nine stories and finding the thread. But we'll get to, I don't know what chapter this was, maybe chapter 4. But it really is the part in the book where I pivot and start talking about not the hunt for phosphorus and, the craving that we have because it provides the chemical fertilizer that's sustaining the 8 billion of us, soon to be 9 billion. So that's one aspect of it. But phosphorus, is everywhere in the environment. And it wasn't really a problem until the 1950s or 60s when we started using washing machines after World War II, when we stopped building bombs and planes and tanks and started building fridges and washing machines and such. And it turned out that those machines worked great, but they needed a more potent soap. So the researchers at the time concocted detergent. And when I first started learning about all this, I thought detergent and soap were synonymous. And I now know that there's a difference between a skateboard and a rocket. And it turned out that a big component of this synthetic soap, this detergent, is phosphorus. And why, it's kind of complicated, but it basically is a water softener. So for areas served by hard water, it would keep washing machines from getting all gunked up. So it was a convenience for the industry and for the people, and I'll say women, because it was almost always, as far as I could see from my research, this detergent was always marketed for women. Here's a little aside that I'm just wondering if you noticed, as I mentioned this. I have a line in the I've only heard from one person who recognized what I was doing. I have a line in the book talking about women stuck in the basement with all their children and the days of their lives in another world. I make all these soap references.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I thought I might have been being too cute, but then
so it wasn't so blatantly obvious that people went, "Oh, he's referring to soap operas."
And they were called soap operas because they were peddling detergent.
Yes.
And they were peddling them to, it was largely females at the time. I can personally attest that is no longer the case. But yeah, so the cost of making this drudgery much more convenient was really borne by our fresh waters, because phosphorus, as I mentioned briefly earlier, it's a critical nutrient. It sustains modern agriculture. It makes things grow miraculously. It's some of the miracle in Miracle-Gro, probably. I haven't looked at the actual ingredients, but it doesn't lose its ability to make things grow when it washes off the landscape and into fresh water. And so that's why you're talking about the Cuyahoga River, and more specifically than just the river burning. That was really the result of a bunch of industrial accidents. But phosphorus was a big problem there. But it was a huge problem on the western basin of Lake Erie, and all of Lake Erie. They were calling it America's Dead Sea in the late 1960s.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss in the Lorax, actually, I think he wrote that in 71 or 72. He takes a crack at Lake Erie. And, he's trying to find a rhyme to the water is schmeary. I don't know. It had so saturated popular culture at the time, the idea that we were, trashing our lakes, that it even ended up in children's books. And so people collectively decided at this time that, dead seas are too high of a price to pay for whiter whites and brighter whites. So the first thing that needed to happen was people needed to be convinced that phosphorus was the problem. And the detergent industry at the time wasn't interested in seeing phosphorus fingered as the culprit. And they were saying, oh, it could be any other, it could be nitrogen, it could be carbon, it could be anything. And so there were so many of these little stories that I fold into the book that just, I talked about rabbit holes earlier. I went down a rabbit hole and I came out in far northwestern Ontario in an area called the Experimental Lakes area.
Yes.
Creatively. And so that's relevant to this story, because what happened in the 1960s and early 70s is a bunch of researchers were basically given carte blanche to go up into the wilderness and treat a bunch of these lakes like oversized test tubes to find out what was fouling America's waters. And one of the most famous experiments they did was they took a peanut-shaped lake, so it had like two lobes, and they cut it in half with a polyurethane curtain. So they basically turned one lake into two lakes, and they were reasonably confident that they had the same water chemistry because it was the same lake. And then they added, in simple terms, they added phosphorus on one side and nitrogen on the other. And they had already done other experiments ruling out carbon inputs as the source. And so about 2 weeks later, they went up in a helicopter and they took a picture, and the side that got phosphorus was green as Augusta National Park. And the side that didn't was the deep blue of a Canadian lake that you And that picture was worth 1,000 ordinances and laws and whatnot. It just
at least. It was a very dramatic story.
Yeah.
Now, not that 3 million is nothing, because it is something. However, think about the fact that if you go down to National Harbor, you're talking about $73 million in revenues with only 250 acres of usage. So we need to really activate that area. And now it will be activated because it's going to be, I don't know because I'm not part of the negotiation process, but that's a pretty expensive deal. And when you have an expensive deal like that, the person that comes in is going to activate that whole area. What we did realize with some of the proposals is that we made sure that there needed to be some sort of amusement or attraction that could get, make people drive in from exit 15 in, much like Six Flags. So they agreed that they would be that, but they also, what we're trying to figure out, what will be the other acreage of use? Because of the 500 acres, maybe 400 acres of that is actually you can build on. And that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's what we would determine who wins it. And by then we would get what their other part. It could be from science. There's been high tech science that was suggested. There was even more of industrial. There's also been homes suggested. I know people don't like the idea of that, and I don't like the idea of that either. We really need to focus on expanding the commercial tax base. And I will say in that area, there's already housing, so we really don't need housing. But we want to see what the proposal is. And I will say that we did make it clear to Six Flags what we wanted. So they said that the top people that they've picked have fallen in line with at least that amusement area option. Will it be now? What's clear is that it most likely would not be an amusement park. It looks like there's something going on in that industry, and they're saying that it won't be an amusement park, but it will be something. But they could be something similar, but not. It won't be Disney World.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we do need to see what the balance is, and I will hope working with whoever takes over to make sure, because the county executive is more committed to that because that's a regional project that would have that type thing. So I'm definitely going to be, no matter what, very much involved with that because I'm still on the council no matter what. And I will say that we are waiting for the new owner to be announced. That has to happen first. What happens is that people are like, oh, what's going on? It's like you got announced. They announced to you all that it was going to close 6 months before it closed. So now that it's closed, they're finishing negotiations, and those things take time.
And you mentioned also Caroline. When can we expect to hear a little more information about that or see some movement there?
Probably early next year. The new owners are coming in. They're trying to make some changes to the plans, and they do have some very cool options that they're bringing in. They're meeting with leasing. Their leasing team is meeting with different stores and everything to see what comes. And there will be a high-end apartment, a hotel, all of those things. The biggest issue with development is that it just doesn't take. It's just not quick. It's just not quick. You can start talking about something and you probably won't see the groundbreak until 4 or 5 years from now, or the actions of it. Everything takes a lot to move a project. And once it's done, then, they say that Wayne Curry was the one who really worked with the developer Peterson to do National Harbor, but it was Jack Johnson that broke ground. You know what I mean? Like, it was not his, Wayne wasn't in office because it takes a long time. So that it's been frustrating for me. I mean, even with Westphalia, when us talking about, we had went from no retail to a grocer that was basically confirmed. But when we're waiting for the grocer to be confirmed, but they are negotiating and it's taking months, and that is nothing I can do about it. So that is, but we also have other projects. Caroline has got some fun stuff going. I'm excited about some of the initial meetings that they're having with people. There's some upscale folks that if it works out, it would be beautiful. So I'm just prayers that everything works out. It's just that the council is not involved with those negotiations. It's really money. That's a money talk. But then we also have a lot of things off the Blue Line corridor that we're looking at, from Addison Road to Capitol Heights. We've got Glenwood Hills, where we're going to be having some multi-units and grocery store and retail. We have all of these things coming, and when they all come, it's going to transform the area. But again, with the development, it's a waiting game. And that's the most frustrating thing about development.
Yes, and I've been a part of some of the discussions for the plans about things coming along the Blue Line corridor and taking part in meetings where they're asking the community to give their input. What do you want to see and what type of parks, what type of structures, if there is housing, how should the housing look? So that's been interesting for me to also navigate as a community resident. And I do see the timelines on there, and I'm like, my gosh, am I still gonna be alive?
It takes a long time, and this is something I have to get used to because I was a practicing attorney before, but I did not do a lot of work, and I didn't do a whole lot of work when it comes to development until really this job. So now I've learned quite a bit, and the time it takes for you to see, there are things that started before I got in office that are now we're breaking ground on.
Yeah, and so beyond the development projects, there's also the very real impact on people and households across the county. Prince George's County is home to a large number of federal workers and contractors. And this is something people are especially concerned about right now, where not even a full year into this new federal administration, and as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, government and federal workers have been under attack. And you have been very vocal about that and about how we need to take care of our residents here locally. And so, what have you been seeing and hearing from your constituents regarding what they're dealing with? And how does the at large role allow you to advocate for them differently, if it does at all?
Well, I would say this. We have to work with our federal delegation to see what we can do to, first of all, get our federal workers back in office, back into their positions. Some has been reinstated, but some have not. There's been massive layoffs that are really just those agencies are not even functioning right now. So we're looking at that. There's been lawsuits working, and we've been in contact and had meetings with Attorney General Anthony Brown on lawsuits there. We're still trying to fight to get our FBI back. The reality is that there are a couple things we have to realize. We really want to be able to get that FBI. That FBI will be another game changer in the Greenbelt area where you already have NASA, you already have the Fort Meade part. So it's almost like a triangle. And then we're close to where we're doing the Discovery District in College Park. So you have all of that in one area. It's transformative. It is transformative. So we wanted, what Montgomery County did with the FDA being there, and NIH, and they use that as the biotech corridor. And the reality is that they're known for that. That's become their branding. We can do the same with getting the FBI here. So we really just have to keep fighting on that. And then one of the things we have to start to pivot on is what other industry that we can define in Prince George's County beyond just the federal workforce, because that's what we're known for. Federal workforce, federal contractors. Our businesses are often federal contractors. Our residents are usually federal workers, and so we do need to build another industry that we can embrace and can be a part of us. Quantum is here already. We're the home of quantum, and we need to fully embrace that and almost put it there, and then get AI involved, and then we can be another Silicon Valley. But that's one of the conversations we've had with the EDC and the Economic Development Corporation is about implementing a process that would allow allow new industries to come to Prince George's County. And that would help where our federal workers are laid off and we have somewhere that they can be placed, because it's been difficult. Some people have to take on entrepreneurship. We have EDC working on helping with entrepreneurship, which we should all be involved with. Really, we should have different streams of income. And we actually realize this is a thing. When we talk about wealth in Prince George's County, we always focus in on wealth being defined by a job. But the truth is we have to re-strategize and focus in on generational wealth. You can't take a job and pass it on. You can't even keep it. And if you had it 40 years, you can be let go and left with unpaid bills. So we do want to start encouraging more entrepreneurship. But we also find that a lot of federal workers are having to take jobs that are taking a substantial pay cut because they cannot get a job within the range that they made in the federal government. So that's why we really need to look at building a new industry.
And I know that statewide, Governor Moore has been He has focused on quantum as one of his priorities, as one of the priorities of the state of Maryland. And I have heard every room that I have been in when they are talking about the future of Maryland, every single person that is in charge of an agency in Maryland has talked about quantum. And so to have that area in College Park that you mentioned, that is the Discovery area that is already focused on that. We're already steps ahead in that game. And so I'm excited to see what's going to come for us in the county from that focus already.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so with all of these issues in play, people often want to know how they can actually engage and be heard. And how do you see your office serving and responding to residents countywide in this at-large role? And how can people stay engaged?
So we have the community survey that we're going to be sending out, and this is going to be, we're going to mail it out. We're going to get people out, because what we want to do is hear from people what the issues that impact them. And then what we're asking everyone to fill this out, we're going to send out the link. I'll send you the link. And it's a bit.ly link that we have is going to be on our website. And then what we want people to do is fill this out. Let us know what their issues are, because as we do this town halls, we're going to be focused. I'm not going to do as many general town halls. We're going to make them focused, because we have some key issues that need to be addressed, and we would like them to be focused on. So we would encourage people to fill out the survey, get involved, let us know what their issue is, and we'll go on from there.
And so before we close out, I want to address a question that's on many people's minds as we look ahead. In November 2026, every seat on the county council, including the county executive seat, will be on the ballot. Some leaders are term limited, others will be incumbents. For residents, that raises an important question about governing versus campaigning. So from your perspective, how do you think about your responsibility in this current role, doing the work of governing while knowing the county is also heading into a major election cycle?
Well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. My district has been really happy with my resident representation. I've heard a lot from people saying, thank you for keeping us informed. Thank you for hearing us and addressing some of our issues. And we're just going to keep doing what we're already doing. Like I said before, my work speaks for itself. I feel very confident that my work speak for themselves. And for those that don't know me, there's always going to be some person that's going to say, oh, what has she done? Is this musical chairs? Does she have all this stuff? But the reality is that nothing is going to stop the work that I'm doing for the county. I've been doing it already, and I want to keep to do it. I've been ready to serve from day one, and I'm going to continue to serve.
You know, I absolutely love that. And the one thing that I have loved about your leadership is the keeping us informed. You know, you are always ready to speak to your constituents. And that's how you and I met, because I would show up and I would just come and ask you questions. And, you know, there was never a time where I felt that you were dismissive or didn't want to answer, or even if you didn't know, you would say you don't know. And so I really appreciate that about you. And so what do you want to leave with the residents across Prince George's County to feel confident about in these times of transition?
Well, I would say this. My door has always been open. One of the things when I was running for my position that I was just leaving, one of the things that people said to us is that we don't know what's going on. And that's the biggest issue. That's why your work has been really critical, because there is so much actually going on in Prince George's County, but nobody knows about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then everybody finds out all the bad stuff. Oh, the school system is bad. This person got killed. This person. But there are all these good things happening, or things that are happening on their behalf that they don't know about. So we're actually saying, okay, if you don't know, you're now going to know. And we're putting that out there. And that's what I've been about, getting people information while actually working on the issues. So we're heading to each community. We're going to let people know and let people understand what's going on and how we can make sure that they feel engaged.
Well, Councilwoman Blegay, thank you for bringing clarity, transparency, and perspective to a moment when people are looking for reassurance and leadership. And to everyone watching, staying informed and engaged is how we build stability, even during times of change. This is the Spotlight, and until next time, see you guys.
Even if there's something that you're not, that you don't do within the sheriff department, you always take the time to guide them to the resource in the county that can help them.
Yes.
So I find it amazing. And with that in mind, I came up with this acronym about you, Sheriff.
Okay. Okay.
Sheriff. Okay, so the S in Sheriff, I want to say servant.
Yes.
I honestly have seen you and witnessed you as a servant. Some folks may not like what I say, but I'm going to have to say and be real about this. Some folks you only see show up in the community when it's time to run for office.
Yes.
You're always out in the community.
Yeah.
As soon as I step out there, it doesn't matter what type of event, so many different type of events, I see you out there serving the people. And the next thing is heart. You serve with humility from the heart.
Thank you.
And engagement. I watch you talk to those seniors like you're talking to your mom, like you're talking to your auntie, like you're talking to a family member. And I find that amazing how the seniors engage with you. Then the respect. I have witnessed you respect every single person, regardless of their status, regardless of their age, regardless of what community we go into, because we go into some different type of communities. But yet I see you treat every single person the same. That is amazing to me. Integrity. A man of integrity. We know what that means. Your faithfulness to the community, and then your fortitude, your courage, and your commitment to making sure you keep our county safe. You represent what VIP and the DMV is all about. Somebody adding value, identity, and purpose in the lives of others.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot to me. The job that we do, we don't ask for, people to thank us, because again, we do this because we care.
Right.
And as you talk about some of the communities that we're in, we never should make a separation about where you live or your economic status or what you're going through. I mean, even when you're looking at some of the court order and some of the stuff that we're doing, to go and to see a family going through hardship, and they're going through a situation where we have a court order to do an eviction. We try every and anything to figure out ways that we can try to help somebody, because again, even though the court order is ordering us to remove this individual or to recover that property, we still can provide those wraparound services. We still can try to work with individuals to make sure that they can still be made whole again. It's all about being about part of the community, and I would like to believe that I'm part of the community. Just because I'm wearing this uniform doesn't mean I'm not the same person that I encounter each and every day out in our community. I'm part of this community. I'm the same way that they go through things, I go through things in my own personal life. And I want people to understand that this job is really about this service.
So what are some of the challenges we face or you see out there in our community?
So a lot of it is how we treat each other. It's our communication. It's, how we really are able to communicate, our dissatisfaction, or how we communicate with emotions. The biggest categories in which we're dealing with in the Office of the Sheriff currently right now, with our mental health and mental health unit, that is definitely on the rise, not only here in Prince George's County, but really throughout the country. We're also addressing and trying to deal with some of our youth involvement and dealing with them as far as some of the stuff that they're going through in their lives. A lot of these youth, people don't understand they're going through PTSD, they're dealing with a lot of issues because of what they're experiencing in their lives. The other element that we're seeing, and from the criminal standpoint, is some of the scams.
That's huge.
It's very huge right now, where we have people who are taking advantage of folks, calling them and telling them that they have a warrant and that they need to pay some sort of amount of money in order for them to recover or to squash a warrant.
Oh, I think you shared this at the last event I went to, the Silver Circle.
Yes.
They were having people meet them at the Sheriff Department?
Yes, they
Talk
were asking
about
people.
That. Yeah.
The scammers were asking individuals to drive to the Sheriff's office, not to go into the building, to stay in the parking lot, and that they would actually meet them there in order to collect the funds. I mean, and they're asking people to either put money in Bitcoin, bring gift cards, or actually bring some sort of dollar amount to them. One thing that we do now is we're making sure that we're scanning and we're aware of who's coming in and out of the parking lot over at the Office of the Sheriff. But also we're asking individuals, if you do get a call from a deputy sheriff saying that you have an open warrant and that you need to pay money, hang up. And
so we
then
need to hear that
yeah,
again. So if
hang
somebody
up.
called me and say, Lavita, we have a warrant for you, and come down to the sheriff department
Yes.
because you need to pay money, I should do what?
Hang up. If they ask you for any type of money, hang up.
Right.
We would never ask you for any money.
Mhm.
We would never. And if there's a court issue, what we would
Yes.
say is we're asking you to come down to headquarters so that we can then talk to you or that you have paperwork or documentation. We would never ask you for any money. It's no reason for us to ask you for any money. So those are things that we're encountering. And then also our domestic violence. You know, we're expanding in domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season currently right now.
Yeah.
We're not seeing as much of intimate partner violence, but we are seeing a lot of, you know, family violence. And as a whole, our families, they're struggling right now. They're trying to relate to each other.
Can you describe what that family violence is?
So you're looking at, now we have father-son, you know, mother-daughter, father-daughter type violence. We're even seeing some of our seniors, grandparents, now having to raise their grandkids.
Wow.
So what do you tell somebody who's a senior who's already raised a child?
Yeah.
They now have their 16 or 15-year-old in the home. That person then starts to get physical with them. That's considered domestic violence.
Yes.
You're also looking at, you know, again, I said father, son, but you're looking at that dynamic of the families. You're also starting to see, because of financial constraints and what we're going through, that you have a lot of folks actually having to move back home. Well, hey, if you're in my house, you're going to follow by my rules. And you now have a grown child who, no, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And we're seeing they're getting into it. So it's just not intimate partners. Domestic violence has so many different facets to it that we really need to pay attention. One, we want to educate people. Two, we want to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And then three, we want to provide those wraparound services.
Things have changed.
Yes,
when
they
I was
have.
growing up, your parents, like, I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out of this world. Like, we didn't disrespect our parents. That's very interesting to hear those type of stories.
I'll be honest, what we're encountering right now are parents, a lot of parents may be afraid of their kids.
Why? I can't
Because
relate to that.
every time that we encounter, you know, some of the parents,
Okay.
I'm not going to say every time, but when we encounter some of the parents, they will say, well, Sheriff, you know, the reason why I'm having issue with my child is because as soon as I put my hands on him, you're going to be locking me up. And it's going to be abuse. And I try to tell them, it's a difference between corrective action and disciplining your child and abuse.
That's real good.
Two different things.
Okay, explain that.
Two
Explain
different
it, yeah.
things.
We need examples
So
of that one.
if you're providing some sort of discipline to your child, and you do have to, you know, correct their behavior, and even if you grab, or even if you know, that's not going to. We're not looking at that as second degree assault. Now
Okay,
and that's what they're looking at it as.
Right,
It's second degree assault. It's unwanted contact. When your child is acting up and you're trying to correct that behavior, it's much different than abuse, where a child is in a fetal position and you're hitting them, you know, on the head and back, and it's much different than that. Abuse is something completely different. And what I say is, there are other ways that you can actually correct that behavior. And one thing that we offer through Vision Quest and one of the other nonprofit organizations, we do a Saturday Academy. And we have the parents there and we have the youth.
That's awesome.
And we make sure that all the lessons are taught to them together. And we also provide a stipend to those youth at the end of the class, each class, so that it incentivizes them to, one, want to participate. Two, it allows them to be there to where we're talking about these issues, so that the parents as well can understand what's the purpose of trying to work and help develop the youth if you then send them right back into the environment and the parents can't reinforce some of the other lessons that they're learned. And we talk about financial literacy.
Yeah,
we
that's
talk
good.
about how to conduct yourself, whether do job interviews. I mean, we do do it all. We talk about the courts and this public safety. We talk about mental health. We bring everything that a child or a youth or a family may go through. We try to make sure we bring those resources there to actually give some sort of presentation, have them work together, and to make sure that, hey, they can figure out ways to now communicate.
You have a lot of good programs going. That was one of my questions. What are some of the programs that you have to combat some of these challenges? You've explained a whole lot.
Yes.
So with that in mind, I got my VIP telephone right here.
All right.
Sheriff Carr, we know you're the amazing sheriff of Prince George's County. You do an amazing job in your community. I witnessed it with my own eyes. I've heard it with my own ears. So now, if you had to talk to that younger John D.B. Carr, he wasn't a sheriff. He wasn't a sheriff of Prince George's County. Younger, go back, get on that VIP telephone. what words of wisdom would you share with your younger self?
That's a very good question. I'm gonna pick up the phone, and let's say I'll talk to my younger self, and I would say, John, one thing that I would want you to do and that you need to do is apply yourself. You know, you don't let your circumstances in life affect your decisions and how you proceed or how you move forward. I also would tell myself to always strive to be the best. A lot of times, especially coming up, I would do things just to get by. I really was focused on athletics and sports, academics. I want to make sure that, hey, I need to apply myself more academically. I would also value and listen to some of my family members. I can say that my mother and grandmother, grandfather, and my family structure was very strong. But one thing I can say, I could have took and listened to some of the other lessons. I say that now only because I've lost some of them, and now I'm not able to really communicate and able to talk to them. And now being a father myself, now being married, and being in a situation to where I have kids and I have youth, I would be able to, I truly understand now the reason why, you know, parents and why they were so hard on me. I also would talk to myself and I would tell myself, you know, give yourself grace.
That's
it's
powerful.
It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to cry.
Wow.
It's okay for you not to be okay. I grew up in a time to where we didn't show emotion.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a time when I was younger. Boy, shut up before I give you something to cry for. You don't always got to be tough. You always don't have to be, you know, an alpha. Sometimes you can show your emotions. Sometimes it's okay for you not to be in a elevated state to where you have to always be strong.
Right.
Sometimes it's better for you to sit back and listen and observe. That's one of the things that I would tell myself as I've learned coming up through life, that especially being a black male,